Dear students, in this session we will learn about chromosomal basis of sex determination, its different types with an example. I am Dr. Lata, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. Now, as we know, chromosomes play a very important role in transferring the genetic information, and also they play a very significant role in determining the sex of an individual, mean to say the imparting the sexual characters in an individual. The main objective of this session would be to learn the role of chromosomes and how significantly they play an important role in determining the sex of an individual. So here we will be learning about what basically the sex determination means, followed by the types involved. Sex determination in general is a system which decides the sexual characteristics of an organism or the offspring. Now it helps to determine whether the organism is a male or a female. The widely used technique is chromosomal sex determination, in which the sex chromosome of a male will either be male will have X or Y chromosome, and this decides the sex or the gender of the offspring, whereas female carries two X chromosome and male carries X and Y chromosome in most of the cases. Henking in 1891, he was the first who studied the role of these chromosomes in determining the sex. He first noticed a different nuclear material in some of the male gametes in the insect. He named it as X chromosome. He also noticed that a large number of insects had only one chromosome and were denoted as XO, meaning O means nothing, there was only one X chromosome. Then they started studying like what this could be. How can the sex of an individual be determined when there is an absence of one of the sex chromosomes? Then Nicholas Stevens and his co-workers, they identified two types of chromosomes. One is autosomes and the other one is allosomes. Now these autosomes, they are found in all cells. The genes present on these autosomes are responsible for determining the somatic characters and sometimes influence the sex of the organism. And here both the chromosomes, that is the two homologous pair, are similar in shape and size, so they are termed as homomorphic chromosomes. Whereas the allosomes or the sex chromosomes, they carry the genes which determine the sex of an individual. They are variously named as X and Y chromosome in case of man and in Drosophila. It is denoted as Z and W chromosomes in case of birds and moth. They are also termed as odd chromosomes, idiosonines, heterosomes or allosomes. The genes which determine the sex of an individual are being located on these chromosomes, hence they are responsible for the determination of sex of an individual. Now apart from these chromosomes, there are also instances where the environment and hormones will play a important role in determining the gender of an organism. Now, if we look at the actual mechanism of the sex determination, in most of the organisms where sexes are separate, two major systems of sex determination exist. One is heterogametic male, where the male will have an heterogamety or digamety, which is found in the allosomal complements, like as we said. Either the males will have XY chromosome along with the autosomal set, or in some instances it may have X0, that means X and O, wherein it will show the presence of only one sex chromosome. The second one being the heterogametic female. Here the same thing, female will exhibit heterogamety, like female will produce two haploid gametes with different chromosomes in it, different types of chromosomes in it, wherein female will show either the presence of W chromosome, or it could show the lack or absence of one chromosome, when we denote it as Z0, and we will learn this in detail as to what are the different subtypes of this and how it determines the sex of an individual. Now let us take heterogametic males. Here the males have two different sex chromosomes or the allosomes, denoted as X and Y, or they possess only one X chromosome, wherein the chromosomal complement will be represented as XO. Now this kind of males, they produce two types of gametes, one with X chromosome and the other with Y chromosome, or the one without an X chromosome. But in this type, the females will carry two identical X chromosomes, hence they remain homogametic. So these heterogametic males, like there are two types under this. One is XX and XY type, wherein you can observe here 2X, that is the X and X denotes female, X and Y denotes male, hence males are referred as heterogametic here. And in the other type it is XX and XO. XX is represented for female, XO means males having only one X chromosome, right? So that is XX, XO type. Now let us see what is this XXXY type. Now here the sex of an organism mainly depends on the type of the sperm that fertilizes the ovum. Now example here is the Drosophila and in man. See, in most insects including fruit fly, that is Drosophila, and man, the females possess two homomorphic sex chromosomes, that is X and X. You can see here female is having, or AA represents the autosomes, then X and X represents the allosomes. So in female they have two sex chromosomes, which is denoted as X and X. Whereas in case of males, they contain two heteromorphic sex chromosomes, that is X and Y. The Y chromosome is often shorter and heterochromatic. It may be hooked, as you see in Drosophila also. Now, despite the differences in morphology, the X and Y chromosomes synapse during zygotine stage, and it is because they have two parts, homologous and differential. Now, these homologous regions of the two help in pairing. They carry some genes which may have different alleles. Such genes present on both X and Y chromosomes are XY linked genes. They are inherited like autosomal genes. Like in human beings, we can see examples like xeroderma pigmentosum, etc. The differential region of this Y chromosome carries only Y-linked or holandric genes. Example, the TDF, that is testis determining factors. And this Y chromosome will also have genes specific for some characters of males. For example, hypertrichosis, that is excessive hair growth on pinna, which is a male characteristic, and the gene responsible for that is also present on Y chromosomes. And these Hollandric genes which are present on this Y chromosome, they are directly inherited from father to his son. Now in human beings, you know that we have 22 pairs of autosomes and 1 pair of sex chromosomes. So the ova formed by the female are similar in their chromosome type, mean to say they'll have 22 sets of autosomes and 1 X chromosome. Therefore, the females are homogametic because both the haploid gametes will show the presence of 22 autosomes and 1 X chromosome. Whereas in case of male, the sperms that are produced by males will have two types. One is with autosomes and X chromosome and the other one with autosomes and Y chromosomes. Hence, your male become heterogametic whereas female remains homogametic. Sex of the offspring here is determined at the time of fertilization and which cannot be reverted later on. So, when the fertilization of the egg with 22 eggs with a sperm carrying gynosperm which carries autosomes with X chromosome, that is A plus X, they will produce a female child, so that they will have 44 autosomes and 2 X chromosomes. At the same time, when the fertilization of this female gamete happens with the androsperm. Androsperm here is the one which carries Y chromosome. So when this fusion takes place, then it gives rise to a male child. As the two types of sperms are produced in equal proportions, there are equal chances of getting a male or a female child in a particular mating. And this Y chromosome determines the male sex of the individual, and hence it's called as androsome. So this is how the XX and XY type of sex determination occurs. Now if you look at the other type, the XX and XO, wherein here male is heterogametic, having only one X chromosome and it lacks the other sex chromosome in it. Now such kind of examples are normally seen in roundworms and in some insects, like some bugs belonging to the order Hemiptera, or in grasshoppers, or some insects which in turn belong to the order Orthoptera. So here the females will have two sex chromosomes represented as X and X. You have to concentrate on this diagram. You should know where male and female are denoted, and don't blindly copy that male will always on the one side and female on the other. Here the main concept is the male heterogamety. So we are representing males which is showing heterogamety in it, and females are homogamety. So females represent two similar sex chromosomes, whereas male represent XO. X have is for one sex chromosome and O represent lack of the other sex chromosome in it. So here females will have two sex chromosomes, that is X and X, while the males have only one sex chromosome. There is no second sex chromosome. Therefore, the males are designated as XO and the females are homogametic here, and hence they produce similar kind of gametes which contains autosomes with X chromosomes. So as previously discussed, there will be an equal chance of producing male and the female gametes, female offsprings. So the sex ratio produced in this progeny would be 1:1. So when the Male haploid gamete carrying X chromosome get fertilized with the female gamete. It results in the formation of a female, and the male haploid gamete containing no sex chromosome, when it fuses with the female gamete, it results in autosomes plus XO, and here it it forms the male. So that is why it is called as an heterogametic condition. These are the two instances when you wherein you observe the heterogametic males determining the sex of an individual or an organism. On the other hand, we said there are heterogametic females. Females can also be heterogametic. There is no rule that only males should be heterogametic. In few instances, you also found that female being heterogametic, having two different sex chromosomes, and males remain homogametic with two similar kind of chromosomes. So when females are heterogametic, it is discussed under two headings. One is ZW and ZZ type, ZO and ZZ type. So here the female is represented with ZW, having two different chromosomes. So here the female is heterogametic, whereas male is homogametic with similar kind of chromosomes. Now first one, when we look at this ZW and ZZ type, here the sex of an individual depends on the type of ovum that is fertilized. Previously it was depending on the type of sperm that fertilizes the ovum, because male was heterogametic. Here, since it represents female heterogamety, the sex of the offspring depends on the type of the ovum that is getting that is getting fertilized by the sperm. So here male bird, you can see this kind of sex determination in fishes, reptiles and birds. So let's take an example of these birds and understand how the process of chromosomal sex determination occur. Here male bird is represented, since we know that male is homogametic, here it is represented by similar kind of chromosomes, that is Z and Z, whereas female bird is represented with ZW, and because here females are heterogametic. And here the females produce two different types of eggs, one with Z chromosome autosomes and Z chromosome, that is A plus Z and A plus W, and the male gametes or the sperms are of only one type, that is A plus Z. So when they fuse, they form equal proportion of male and female. So the sex ratio that is produced is 1:1. When AZ fuses with AZ, it forms male because of two similar Z chromosome, and when A plus Z fuses with AW, it forms a female wherein the sex chromosomes are heterogametic. In ZO and ZZ type, here also the sex of the individual depends on the type of ovum that is fertilized, and such kind of examples you see in some butterflies and moth. It is exactly here the females will have odd sex chromosomes because they are heterogametic. One of the haploid gamete produced by the female will have autosomes and a Z chromosome, while the other haploid gamete produced by the female will show only one set of autosomes and it lacks the other chromosome. The other sex chromosome here will remain absent, and hence we represent it as O0. Okay. So at the same time males will remain homomorphic. So they will have similar type of sex chromosomes. So here, which is heterogametic? Female is heterogametic and male is homogametic. So such kind of chromosomal sex determination, we call it as ZO and ZZ type of chromosomal sex determination. And here also the progeny that is produced will be in 1:1 ratio. And like this, the chromosomes, whether they are, if they are present in, if the males are heterogametic, they play an important role in determining the sex of the offspring. Similarly, when the females are heterogametic, here the ova plays an important role in determining the sex of an individual. That's how chromosomes play a very important role in determining the gender or the sex of an organism. These are the references from which the content has been taken. You can refer to these for further more information. Now just try to answer a few questions based on what we have discussed, and it will help us to recollect few concepts. Now the chromosomes accounted for sex determination are referred to as, what could be the answer? Heterosis, multiple alleles, allosomes or autosomes. So in the introduction to this session, we discussed what are autosomes and allosomes, right? So here, what is the answer? The chromosomes accounted for sex determination. The chromosomes that are responsible for imparting or deciding the sex of an individual, it is referred to as option. The answer is option C, the allosomes. Now the next question, a fetus determination of gender is dependent on, that means which feature determines the gender of a developing fetus? Does it depend on its mother's age, or is it based on the father's health, or is it based on the nature of the egg, or is it based or dependent on the nature of the sperm? Now here the answer is the nature of the sperm. Here you should understand, a fetus means it refers to the fetus of man. So here in case of man, the gender of the fetus, it mainly depends on the kind of sperm that is fertilizing. So the answer is the nature of the sperm. The third question, XY sex chromosomes were first discovered by whom? Option A, MJD White. Option B, Nettle Stephens. Option C, R. Brown. Option D, Mendel. Who discovered these allosomes? It is answer B, Nettle Stephens. We said Stephens and co-workers, they were the first one to differentiate autosomes and the allosomes. The fourth question, in moths, sex determination is of the type, what kind of sex determination you find in moths and butterflies? Is it XXXO or XXXY, or is it ZW and ZZ, or is it ZO and ZZ? Which type of sex determination is seen in moths? The option is option D, ZO and ZZ, wherein the females are heterogametic and males are homogametic. And question 5, in an entity with genetic composition of autosomes and XXY, such as Drosophila, will be a normal female. In case of mammals, it will be what? I mean to say, does it result in a normal individual, or will it lead into some kind of syndromic individuals? If so, what kind of syndrome is seen here? Because if you look at the karyotype, it is showing the autosomal set, and it is showing, see, if it is a normal female, it should be having 2 X chromosome. If it is a normal male, it should be having X and Y chromosome. So here its karyotype is showing double XY. So what kind of syndrome is it? Whether it's a Turner syndrome or it's a Klinefelter syndrome, or does it lead to the formation of a normal female, or is it a normal male? And one hint here, in case of if it were to be a normal female, as I said, it should have only 2 X chromosomes, or if it were to be a normal male, it should be X and Y. So it is neither of two. So C and D is ruled out. Now out of A and B, which one? In case of Turner syndrome, we know that it is represented as XO. It's a monosomy. It lacks one of the sex chromosome. So the other option that is remaining is Klinefelter syndrome, which is the right answer, wherein you will find an additional sex chromosome or an additional allosome being present because of non-disjunction of chromosomes. So I hope this discussion has helped you all. Thank you for listening to me.